Hi there, I'm Jim Tompkins, and I like to tell the stories behind some of the greatest rock and pop songs from history. Today's song is Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye by Steam. It's one of the craziest, wackiest stories and most unlikely hit songs in pop history. Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye was released in late 1969 and attributed to a band named Steam. It eventually went to number one on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and was a huge hit song. Following this, it went on to even greater fame starting in the 1970s as an anthem that fans would sing to opposing teams in the waning moments of sports games. So how did this song come to be? The origins of Kiss Him Goodbye go all the way back to the early 1960s into a doo-wop group called the Chateaus. The Chateaus consisted of singer-writer Gary DiCarlo, piano player Paul Lika, and Dale Frashauer. The Chateaus were together about 5 or 6 years from 1959 until the mid-60s. Around 1965 they split up, with Paul Lika and Dale Frashauer moving into music production in New York City, and Gary DiCarlo pursuing a career as a recording artist. For a few years, Gary DiCarlo worked the industry around New York peddling his songs, but with little success. As he said, in those days you would literally walk into the buildings of record companies and see if you could get someone to listen to your songs. One day, he's walking up the stairs of a building and he saw a sign for Buddha Records. So he went in, and guess who was sitting there behind the desk but his old friend Paul Lika. Paul Lika had had some success since the Chateaus broke up, with the biggest being writing and producing the song Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers, a big hit song in 1968. This happenstance meeting led to a reunion of sorts, with Gary DiCarlo teaming up to have Paul Lika and Dale Frashauer produce some songs for him, with Gary now going by the stage name Garrett Scott. The first of the songs they recorded was called Working on a Groovy Thing. The problem with that song, though, was it had also been recorded by the Fifth Dimension, and their version was released just before his and became a minor hit for them, so that pretty much squashed the Garrett Scott version of the song. The next song they wanted to release for Gary was called Sweet Laura Lee, written by a guy named Larry Weiss, who would later go on to fame as the writer of the number one song Rhinestone Cowboy. So they record Sweet Laura Lee, but they need a B-side for it. For the younger generation out there, in the days of vinyl records, singles had two sides to them, since a record is a physical thing. Sometimes both sides of a record would have really good songs, but sometimes artists would deliberately put bad songs on the B-side of a record. Why would they do this? So that radio DJs wouldn't play the B-side and it would incentivize them to only play the A-side. It was like deliberately trying to sabotage half the record so that the other half would get all the attention. For this B-side, they dug into the arsenal of songs they'd written when they were in the Chateaus. One of those songs was a song called Kiss Him Goodbye, and they decided to use that as the B-side. So they start recording one night at Mercury Studios in New York City, and they came up with this. The problem was when they initially finished the song, it wasn't long enough for a B-side. As Paul Lika once said in an interview, you had to make the B-sides long, and that way the DJ is never going to play it. The reason is DJs back in those days, and even today, like shorter songs. Shorter songs enable them to play more songs in between commercial breaks, giving the listeners the impression that they're getting more music. So they decide they have to lengthen the song, and why not add a chant to the end of the song? Paul Lika started writing as he was sitting at the piano going, na 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 na. At that time, the na na chant was very popular to add to a song in a place where there was no lyric. The most famous example at the time probably being the na na chant in Hey Jude. Gary DiCarlo then added the hey hey part, and the chant was complete. They went into the studio at 7 p.m. that night and finished the record in one marathon session by 5 a.m. By then, they're all exhausted and they stumble home to get some sleep. They really don't even know what they've created, But the next day when they come back to the studio, everyone was talking about the song and excited about what they created. In particular, Bob Reno, the A&R man at Mercury Records, heard the song and loved it. In fact, he liked it so much, he didn't want to waste it as a B-side. He needed singles for Fontana Records, which was a subsidiary of Mercury. So the song was released on that label. The problem was Gary DiCarlo, aka Garrett Scott, was releasing songs already for Mercury. So the thinking was it would confuse the market to have him release another song on another label. So for Kiss Him Goodbye, they simply credited the song to a fictitious band called Steam. Where did they come up with that name? They were walking to lunch and crossing the street when a subway car passed underneath, shooting up steam from a manhole. Now, this is where things start to get funky. Kiss Him Goodbye is released, attributed to Steam, on Fantasy Records. It enters the Billboard Hot 100 chart in early October 1969. And in today's terms, it goes viral. It hurdles up the charts, and by the end of November, it's the #1 song in the United States. A huge smash. This is all great, but now they have a full-blown dilemma on their hands. They have a #1 song by a group called Steam that is non-existent. It's Gary DiCarlo's record, produced with the help of his friends Paul Lika and Dale Frashauer. When you have a hit song, people want to know all about the group. Who are they? There's a lot of publicity, there's appearances, there's concerts. What do? What they do is they decide to cash in on that record. They assemble a group of guys to be called Steam who have nothing to do with the song. They do publicity, they record a promotional video, there's a whole new set of songs thrown together on an album with Kiss Him Goodbye, and they even go out on tour. But if they put together a band to be Steam, what happens to Gary DiCarlo? It's his song. According to him, he was initially promised that he would be the frontman of the band Steam, but he wasn't invited to be part of the touring group. They just wanted him to sing lead on all the Steam songs that appeared on the album. Well, he didn't want to do that. He felt it was disingenuous and fans would see right through it. The band they put together had nothing to do with the record. The singer didn't sound anything like Gary DiCarlo, and most of the time didn't even sing the song live, he lip-synced it. In the end, DiCarlo was not part of Steam, and the record company asked him not to talk about the fact that he sang the song, so as not to disturb the image of the group. He was once asked how he felt when he heard the song, and he replied, "It was a double-edged sword for me when I would hear it. I was and still am very proud, and it's a great feeling to know that so many people still like it. But back then, I wanted to open my car window or yell to people on the train that it was me they were hearing." To make matters worse, none of the Gary DiCarlo, Garrett Scott songs ever became hits, so he never had the big career he'd hoped for. And for that matter, nothing else Steam released ever did anything. After the success of Kiss Him Goodbye faded, that was about it for the band. And that might have been the end of this oddball story if it weren't for that amazingly catchy chant at the end. Fast forward to 1977, to the Chicago White Sox and their organist Nancy Faust. Nancy Faust had become the White Sox organist in 1970 and was one of the first to incorporate pop and rock songs into the games. Her innovation was to tie songs to certain players and game situations. A group of fans from a local bar called the Oak Lawn Tavern had requested the song Kiss Him Goodbye, so Nancy started playing it. When the Sox rocked an opposing pitcher, she'd strike up the song on her organ and incite the fans to sing it to serenade the opposing player. As she said, the tradition was created by the fans, for the fans, and it was of the fans. Then it started to morph. When the other team's pitcher was taken out, she played the song. When the White Sox won, she'd play the song. And from there, the tradition just spread.
Na 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 na, na 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 na, hey, goodbye.
And the fans serenading the Indiana Pacers.
The tradition of serenading opposing teams has kept the song alive, a song that never should have been heard in the first place, because it was intended to be a throwaway record that DJs would never play. Instead, it became a #1 record and one of the most recognizable chants the world over. Here are some other interesting facts about the song Na Na Hey Hey, Kiss 'Em Goodbye. Kiss 'Em Goodbye is one of the few hit pop rock records to have no guitars and no bass guitar. It's essentially drums, percussion, organs, and piano. Gary DiCarlo himself did the percussion by banging a stick against a block of wood. Perhaps the wildest recent use of Kiss 'Em Goodbye was in 2017 when congressional Democrats sarcastically sang the chorus after their Republican cohorts voted to overturn parts of Obamacare. The song has gone international because the chorus translates very well to other languages. The Spanish rendition goes, na 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 na, hey hey hey, adios. The goodbye and the chorus being substituted with adios in Spain, au revoir in France, ciao ciao in Italy, and sayonara in Japan. Kiss 'Em Goodbye has been used twice on The Simpsons and a number of other television shows, including Cheers, Ally McBeal, Medium, and House MD. It's been included in movies such as Eddie, Raising Helen, Spud, and Remember the Titans, in which it was sung slowly at the funeral of a football player killed in a car accident. Of the 3 Chateaus members, Paul Lika would go on to have the most success. In addition to producing Green Tambourine and Kiss 'Em Goodbye, he also produced the band The Left Bank, who had a big hit with a song called Walk Away Renee. He also wrote and arranged songs for artists like Harry Chapin, REO Speedwagon, and Gloria Gaynor. And for many years he operated his own recording studio called Connecticut Recording in Bridgeport, Connecticut. According to Tommy Mottola, who spent time as both chairman of Sony Music and husband of Mariah Carey, he's one of the backing singers on the track. He was working for MRC Music Publishing at the time, whose workers were recruited to provide the group chorus. Kiss 'Em Goodbye has been covered by many artists, including Diana Ross, Donna Summer, and Bananarama, who had a hit with it in the early 1980s. By the beginning of the 21st century, sales of Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye had exceeded 6.5 million records. That wraps up the story of Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye. Thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you'd like, subscribe to the channel for alerts. And I'll be back soon with another analysis of a great rock and roll song.